So for this module, what we're going to be doing is learning how to use our contour lines. So for the last module, I had you prep all of these and gave you these different measurements at half size so that you could prep your pattern piece. So for this, I'm going to show you how to use them. We can talk a little bit more in class about why we use them, but basically we've got hollows right here around the chest. So here's my bust circle, or my bust radius. There's hollows around all of this, and currently it's going from high point, so from the edges, it's skimming between the edges and the highest point and the apex here at the center of the bust. But as it comes off of the bust, it sort of sucks inside. There's a little bit of a hollow around that bulge on the body. So if we have any design line cross into this area, then we have to take that into account. If we don't, what we'll have is flappy edges. So to get rid of those flappy edges, this is a technique we use to have things fit better. Same thing here, if we have an empire waist, if we want it to suck in right next to the rib cage, that's why we have these different contouring lines underneath the bust as well. So I'm going to do a design here just showing how to use this in general. And I'm just going to change the armhole and I'm going to change the neckline on this particular garment, and it's just going to show what we have to do anytime one of our new design lines and edges crosses over one of the contour lines. So to do that, I'm transferring it over. Notice I have not transferred over any of my contour lines to this. I've transferred over my bust circle, but I have not actually transferred over any other lines. I will transfer over some once I've drawn in my new design lines. So I'm going to actually start here, and I'm just going to do a plunging neckline so that we can see what happens. Notice if I do a neckline change here and I stop above this section, I'm not going to have to address it, but I want us to have to address that, so I'm going to go fairly deep. So I'm going to start here, I'm going to sweep down all the way down past the level of the nipple, basically lower than the apex. Then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change the armhole. I'll just make this a nice shape like that. So these are going to be my new design lines. So these ones right here, we're all going to go away. But before I get rid of them, the contour lines that we have are based on that exterior line. So I'm just going to come in here, and I know that this new neckline is going to be affected by this contour line. So I'm going to draw this contour line in. Only where it gets affected. I don't need to worry about it down here. But I'm going to have to worry about it in this section right here. It's also going to be affected by the center front contour line. So I'm going to draw that one in as well. And the other contour lines that I have to worry about are this underarm contour line. I don't usually need to worry about this side one right here. I don't usually need to worry about that one when I've still got a strap. If you're really concerned and you want it to fit a little bit tighter, you could potentially work with this one, but really I'm only going to worry about this if I've got a strapless garment. Or a garment where I've only got is a spaghetti strap. So next I'm going to finish drawing in this contour line. So what we need to do is get rid of the material from here to here. Just because it crosses this contour line doesn't mean I'm taking it out according to what's at the bust circle. I'm taking it out according to the measurement right here where it crosses that contour line. Same thing here. I'm not taking it out according to what it is at center front. I'm taking it out according to where it crosses this contour. And the same thing here. And what we need to do is get rid of this length somehow. It's got to go somewhere. And really the only available space for it to go is into this dart. So what we do is I'm going to open up my dart. And by open it up, I just mean create a slash into the dart. And then I'm going to come in here and slash along my contour line. And then I'm going to close just right there. Just the amount, see, you can still see it down here poking out a little bit, because all I care about getting rid of is this section right here. Boop, just like that. And you'll see it opens up down here in the dart. Now, if you don't want to tape over a whole bunch of lines like that, you can just very faintly erase them so you can still see them. But that way we don't have to cross out as much. But I need to get rid of this much. Now, I still have some other contouring to do, so I'm going to leave my dart open. I'm not going to tape this shut yet, because I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. And I'm going to take the top of this contour, and I am just going to close it. Just like that. Rid of a little bit of that extra pencil. And you can see that all went into the dart. And then the final thing that I'm going to do is the armhole. This will make it so that I do not have a sloppy edge when I'm wearing it. This will not flap about. What I do need to do is, you'll notice my lines no longer match up here. They line up kind of here, and they line up kind of here. That's just because of the nature of these two particular contour lines. But anytime you're changing the neckline, you're going to have to blend through and just redraw that neckline and hash out the old one, just so that it blends nicely. Same thing here. Just blend through. So you may have even started with a straight line, but when you're done, you'll end up with a curve. And that is okay. When it gets sewn, it will appear straight on the body. I can put this on center front. I'm going to have this be a fold. But I do need to add my seam allowance here. Actually, I'm not going to worry about this notch. This is a small enough section. I'm not going to worry about having a notch there. And because I've changed the underarm like this, I'm not going to be putting a sleeve in here, so I am not planning on putting a notch along here. Depending on how I finish it, if I bound this or something like that, I wouldn't need a notch. If I decided to do a facing, then I would need a notch, but I don't think I'd put a facing on there. You just have to think through all of that. For that matter, if I wanted to, I could turn this into a princess seam right now, and that would take care of that. But I'm not going to do a princess seam. I'm just going to fill in this dart just like this. And my dart just increased in size. So now I need to come in and perfect this dart. So I'm going to make sure I've got my dart point where I want it. Find the center of the new dart. Oh. Go down 1/2 inch. Here's my new dart point. Let me get rid of This is a very large dart. Personally, I don't like it when darts get this big. So in this case, I'm actually, as I'm looking at this, for the sake of this tutorial, technically this is the correct size of dart. When you get into a design situation and you're making your own designs, you could choose to put seam allowance in here instead of perfecting the dart, because by perfecting this dart, when I fold it, it's actually going to cross over center front. So because of that, I'm actually not going to do that. I'm going to turn this into seam allowance. I am not going to perfect the dart. Obviously, you can change your mind like this on the fly. The minute you see a dart that huge, and when it gets folded, the point would end up folding all the way out here. And then you'd have the dart from the other side fold over this direction, and you'd end up with like 6 layers when you're sewing it together, going over center front, and that would not be good. So instead of doing that, we're just going to turn that into seam allowance. And then we can cut all of this out. Once we've cut that out, it's good to go. The other option is I could have actually just turned this into gathers and it would have worked fine too. But yeah, so make sure that you come in and label this. This would be a contour practice. This is a bodice front, size 8. I only need one of the self fabric, and I might actually do one of a lining fabric too. That way this can be a lined piece, and this is piece number 1. That right there is how you use contouring. They all just disappear into the dart. That's it. Come back and make sure that you hash out all of these excess little lines. We don't need any extra confusion. So get rid of all unusable lines. Don't worry about hashing out bust circles. We should know what those are. The end.